Hey, good morning. It is Thursday, March 14th. It's pie day. I forgot. Maybe I'll find some pie today. Pie is really big here, not sweet pie, but like actual like savory pies. So there's even a pie shop down the road that I haven't been to. I don't really know if they sell like a good vegan pie. But maybe I'll look into it today to celebrate the wonder of 3.14. So it is still pretty early. It's not 9 o'clock yet. Gray out today, gray and rainy. It looks like we're gonna have a couple days of kind of gray and rainy, and then we're gonna kind of tilt into some good spring weather. So fingers crossed, because yesterday when I went for my run it was kind of mixed cloudy, sunny type situation, but it was so windy, like gusting to 25, 30 miles an hour. And it was at times a very brutal run. I just kept telling myself, doesn't matter what the pace is, just like chanting to myself, like, you can do it, you can do it. It was a pretty slow run, but that's okay. It was nice to be in the fresh air. I slept with my hair in a bun last night, and it's happening. It'll be up in a ponytail soon because I'm going to go to the gym, and I don't know what I'm going to do at the gym. Some stretching and some other stuff, maybe a short run too. But yeah. But today, March 14th, is an interesting day for me. So a year ago, on March 14th, I didn't know that I was about to have the craziest, like, 36 hours of recent life. A lot happened very, very quickly in my life in a lot of different ways on March 14th last year. And in some ways spurred some anxiety, and also spurred like decision making, which was good and helpful. And I'll talk about anxiety at a different time because I think that's an important conversation to have. But so last year on March 14th, I'm pretty sure it was a Wednesday. Yeah, that makes sense because today's a Thursday. So it was a Wednesday, and the day is kind of, just a regular, slow, sleepy Wednesday at work. It was an event week at work. We had once a month morning events on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it was the week of those events. So Wednesday's the middle day where you're like rearranging from Tuesday and then getting ready for the Thursday event. And it was a Wednesday. Wednesdays at work are always like meh. And we had a meeting in the afternoon, a full team meeting in the afternoon, where we they invited the board chair. It's never good when they invite the board chair, just gonna say that. If you're a board chair in the world, maybe just come to more meetings for the organization. So when you show up, people just don't instantly know that it's bad or big or kind of crazy news. And so yeah, that's just my recommendation. But yeah, so the board chair was coming, and people were a little bit on edge about it. And in that meeting, which was like at I don't know, probably like 2 or something, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we found out that our organization would be merging with another organization, and that rightfully caused a lot of stress and anxiety in the room, and like a lot of questions, because what does a merger mean, both for the work, but then there's just the practical logistical implications of working. Like, what does that mean for health insurance, and what does that mean for time off, and what does that mean for office space, and kind of like, so people were asking rightly all of the big and important questions that come in. For better or for worse, there weren't obviously a lot of good answers at that point about kind of some of those more logistical things. And I have some pretty strong thoughts and opinions on the whole process, but that's not for here or now. And so yeah, we found out we were merging, and that caused a lot of stress and anxiety in the room. And I knew at that point that I was going to be leaving for school sometime in the summer. So like that was in the back of my mind. No one else on my team except my boss, I think, knew at that time. And I was in the process of making the decision about where I was going, and which school I would go to and all of that. And so yeah, no one else knew, but I knew. So like I was irked and annoyed about how like the next 6 months of my work life would look, but also knowing that like cool, like it would be fine. Like I was leaving, so for me personally, it wasn't going to be the end of the world. But like when people like are stressed and anxious, and like my nature is to help people like find solutions and to feel more comfortable and to make things as easy as possible for people when big transitions are happening. So I felt a little bit helpless in thinking about how I could help and how I could be a force of like calm and reassurance in that moment. But yeah, so that was big news, and would be news that would and like a thing that would dominate my work life for the last like 5.5 months that I was there, and would continue to unfold in new and interesting ways. Yeah, that's not a video conversation, but yeah, so did that, and then after that news was like, well, going home for the day. It was March, and it was still pretty cold out in Wisconsin, and there's still some snow on the ground. So I went to the gym for a run, not really feeling like dealing with layering up all of my layers, and doing that. So I went to the gym, and on my way, I don't remember the exact sequencing of it. On my way to the gym, or before I got to, I don't remember when exactly, but before I went for a run, before my run actually started, I got a text from my friend Teresa, who was pregnant at the time, and still had 6 weeks to go before the baby was due. And we were in the middle of, we were gonna have her baby shower in 2 weeks, and I was helping plan it, and we were gonna have a really fun time celebrating the baby boy that was coming along. And I got a text from her that she was in labor, and I mean, I don't know a lot about having babies. I have not had one, but like I know well enough that having a baby 6 weeks early is not generally a good thing, and not what you hope for. So that caused immediately in me a lot of stress and panic, and trying to there was nothing I could do in that moment to help, besides just like as much good thought and good energy and all that as possible. Because like Teresa said, there was nothing I could do to help in that moment. Her other son was taken care of, and her husband was there on the way, and at that point you're just letting the process take over, and hopefully, and just hoping everything is okay. And so yeah, I was at the gym. I was super stressed out. I ran way too fast on the treadmill. I cranked it up because I was just it's kind of like a double whammy of big news and anxious inducing news. So yeah, and then I went home, and I was just waiting and sending an occasional encouraging text to Teresa. And then finally, probably around midnight, I definitely wasn't sleeping. I was just laying in bed watching whatever on Netflix or whatever, because there was no way I was sleeping until I knew what was happening, and I knew that they were all okay. And around midnight, I think, or a little after, I got a text that the baby was born. He was as good as could be hoped for 6 weeks early. So that was really the picture of mom and baby. He was just like this tiny little squish. Less than 5 pounds. And a relief, but then also that like they would have to be in the NICU for the foreseeable future, and we can talk about that later. But yeah, so then I cried just tears of relief and tears of joy, and by the time I was calmed down enough to sleep, it was probably like 2, and it was Thursday was an event morning, which means I had to be at work and doing stuff by 7. So I got like 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, and got up and, I'm gonna take a sip of my tea. I got up and, went to work, and I was exhausted. I had texted my boss the night before to just let her know that I was probably gonna have an off day, not a day off, but like I was gonna be tired and worn out. And then I drove to work, and then when I got to work, I just quick glanced down at my phone and saw that I had an email from the last school that I was waiting to hear from for graduate school. And I opened it, I saw that I got accepted, and then though I was pretty decided on coming here to London, that school was in New York, and they had offered me a pretty significant scholarship, which then tilted maybe the decision I was going to make, and I didn't quite know what to do, and I was not in the best state of mind to try to figure it out. It was just like one too many things on the like news pile of stuff, and so I kind of just like compartmentalized it, set it aside, set up the event, and made sure everything was good to go. And then as the event was going on, just kind of sat in the back of the room, exhausted already. It was, 9:15, and trying to figure out what was exactly happening in my life. Because at work, the team, came back and was ready to put on a good event, but everyone was visibly stressed and like, had a chance to sleep on the work news and had more questions that would hopefully be able to be answered at some point. And then, I was trying to figure out how I could best help Teresa and the baby, and trying to think about that. And then I had this school thing that all of a sudden I was like, I thought I had made a decision, and now maybe I hadn't made a decision, and I didn't quite know how to approach that. So all of that to say is a year ago, like right now at this time, none of this had happened. And then very quickly and very suddenly, not even in 24 hours, I guess it's like in a span of 12, 18 hours, everything kind of spiraled really, really rapidly into like chaos and indecision and what's going to happen next. And tomorrow I'll talk a little bit more about the baby, because that's an important part of what my year was last year, and lessons I am continuing to learn in kind of what that process taught me, about being a good friend and about like what's really important. All of that to say is I hope today is pretty calm. I don't, fingers crossed, knock on, I don't know if that's wood. I don't anticipate this March 14th being quite as intense as last year's March 14th. But who knows? Maybe something ridiculous will happen. I hope not. Only good ridiculous, please. So it's a little story time. I don't recommend all of those things happening at once. I hope in your life none of those things. Well, I mean, I hope no babies are born early. That's not good. But otherwise, mergers you can make it through. Getting good news about school is good, even if it causes you to maybe potentially change your course. Obviously, I didn't. I ended up here in London, but it gave me pause. And this is now way too long, so I am going to go, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good day. Make good choices.